Welcome to the fair here. Ben Jacobs with you for full uninterrupted commentary. People just arriving. A massive crowd is expected as a gentleman walks into booth A17 there in a black and white hoodie. There's a woman who appears to work here, greeting a colleague or a friend of hers, a little kiss on the cheek. Gesticulating by booth A25. There's a family of three as well by booth A24, and a woman who appears to be giving an interview standing at the front by A24 as well. A lady walks by in a pair of thick glasses as well and has a look at the multicoloured painting on the wall. Another woman behind her doing exactly the same, throws her a sinister glare almost. I don't think those two know each other. A gentleman on the phone walking up towards booth A17 here, but he turns and moves in the other direction and ambles back towards booth A25 instead, and eventually settles upon that one, clearly not quite sure where he's going. A lady with a large cream white bag walking alone in towards booth A24. Coming out of booth A24 is a couple who have both got large bags as well, wearing black and white. They think about going into A17, but instead decide to walk past the lady sitting in the chair and instead make their way into A25. A lady in a pastel pink dress goes into A17, walking very elegantly, and on the far side, looking at what appears to be a painting full of lots of different dots, is a man and a woman taking a couple of photographs of that one. And speaking of pictures, here by A24, there's a gentleman taking one of a moving piece of art by the looks of things. It's swivelling from left to right. Another man joins him. They both have a brief discussion, and then they've got their pictures and walk away. Lady in the background sitting in a chair, going through a bit of paperwork, having a conversation with somebody by the looks of things on the other side of the table, looking a little bit disinterested, it has to be said. Scratches her right ear. Lady in a summer dress comes out A31A and makes her way towards A32B, whilst at the same time opening something in her handbag. A very fast-moving woman comes up towards A32A, past a multicoloured painting. Another woman in a red and white skirt alongside a friend of hers move into A41. A couple of people stuck in the middle of the lobby, not sure which way to turn here. One of them eyeing going into A41, a lady with a beige satchel, and finally she walks inside. Two people come out of A31 at the same time. It's very busy suddenly here at the fair, yet still, despite all of the hustle and bustle, the lady who probably works here in the white top remains seated with a hand on her right chin, going through a little bit of paperwork and maybe looking at a few messages on her phone as well. A rather dappled gentleman, alone, eyes up going into A31A, and eventually settles upon that. Took his time, almost thought about A33, but instead settled upon A31A instead. A man coming out of A31A as well, on his phone, and then back inside again. Is he going to come out for a second time? No, he finally settles upon staying within there. Here's a man with his shirt untucked, a yellow and black bag, on his phone as well, really not looking at which booth to go in, just contemplating what the best direction would be, staying still in the middle of the lobby, and chooses to remain that way as well. Now in a more open pan part of the fair here, A8 and A9 are very busy. There's a young family over to the right hand side, and there's a girl in a pastel pink top having a look at some black and white paintings of what appear to be animals. She's on her phone though now, sending a text message maybe to her boyfriend. Maybe in a moment she'll choose to take some pictures of the art as well. 3 or 4 people walking past her as well though, and blocking her view of some of these paintings, and she scratches her lip and moves over to her right hand side to get a clearer view of some of these animals before eventually walking out of A14. Into A14 comes another lady as well, with a large bag in hand, having a look at some of these black and white drawings, and a couple as well walked past her as well with their arms around each other. That's romantic to see. And a gentleman with a beard as well, coming out of A14 at the same time as well, with a newspaper in his hand. He's enjoying the artwork too. Over by A9 and A15, 6 or 7 people wandering through the lobby. There's a man on his phone that's going to go into A9. Coming out of A9 and moving towards A10 is a guy in a beige suit with a tie as well. Just checks back though and has a conversation with a friend of his who isn't interested in A10. He's going to head down towards A14 instead. A man and a woman walking up A15 now through the lobby. She's wearing heels, walking relatively slowly, glancing left, glancing right, glancing left once again, and trying to determine which booth they're going to walk in. Still the woman sitting alone, arm on her chin, policing the various crowds, making sure nobody steals anything on the walls, I guess, and going through her computer, doing a bit of paperwork and a few messages as well. She's been there all day. Bit of movement in the lobby here with two girls, one in black, the other in grey. The one in grey is on her phone. What booth is she going to go in, one wonders. Coming from A14, to her right is A9A and A8. But she seems pretty fixed on just staying in the lobby and looking around her as a woman circles her in a cream dress and eventually does move into A8. And she disappears. Well, out of nowhere, it's suddenly getting really busy. People creeping out of all these different booths. Coming out of 9A is a young family, a father in a green shirt pushing the pram. His son is colour-coded with him. I think there's a baby in the pram. The wife is walking behind them. The woman in the cream shirt has come out of 9A and she's walking towards A10 all of a sudden. The gentleman in the shirt with his sunglasses around his top button is following her as well and having a little glance as well, but I don't think they know each other. A man and a woman walking towards A8. Here come the family through the lobby. They're being pointed over towards A8 as well. The father's straight there. The son looking a little bit bored at the moment. The wife behind in the blue with a fetching watch and her hands in her pocket as well. And they move off towards A8 to see what is round that corner and if there's any surprises in store. And everyone seems to have fixed upon a booth all of a sudden. The lobby's gone quiet. Most people going to A8 and A9A, a few in A10 as well, and all that leaves is the woman sitting on the chair alone, scratches her chest, waves her hands around, clearly speaking to someone over on the other side of the table, but deadly silent, and just peeking in the background there is a woman looking at booth A8 and again settling upon that. And now suddenly the crowd coming out once again, and the silence is broken. A lady walking from A9 to A10, two younger women as well in A10 as well, and the father-like figure in that green just appearing in the background in A8. He obviously wants to leave there. A young schoolgirl as well appears from A8 too, in a green bottle top, as does a woman in a short black skirt as well. She moves from A8 to A10. A lot of commotion all of a sudden. A tall man from A10 storming down to A14, but he stops at A10 and decides to go back inside. Now, the father and son coming out in their matching green colours, but the father's abandoned the pram and given it to the mother to push instead. The baby is awake. Where's she going to push the pram? The father wants to get a move on. He's interested in A14. The son holding his hand as well, looking at A10 and enjoying all of the different colours, but the mother's too busy making sure the baby's okay, and as a result they haven't gone into a booth just yet. Now the mother pushes the pram down the lobby, looking at A9 and A15 as well. The son is pointing towards A9A, that's where he wants to go. The father pats him on the head and says, no, we're not going there, we're going to head towards A15 instead. The mother's pointing towards A14 though. They're not sure what booth they want to go in. Eventually they settle on A10 though. Nobody saw A10 coming. A9A and A14 look like the most likely, but instead the family moved to A10, which seems like the most popular booth so far. All kinds of excitement then here at the fair. Again though, it goes a bit quiet momentarily as everyone just sneaks into these different booths. We're seeing lots of lulls of excitement and then quietness once again. There's clearly a school trip going on though, because a lot of these young girls are sharing the same bottle green shirts with their school logo on it, and they storm past 4 or 5 of them, a lady who appears to be giving an interview, and they move on to A10 to see what is round that corner. A couple of locals as well in the traditional burqas, a bright pink handbag on one of them. They move towards the woman on the chair. And my word, the woman on the chair appears to have got up and gone for the first time today. I wonder where she's gone off to. Maybe it's her lunch break. But for the first time we can see the woman has departed the chair where she's been all day. And it almost looks a lonely style figure now because we're so used to her sitting in that. Is she going to sit back down here now? She's emerged from nowhere and she's back. That was a very quick lunch break, obviously. And she now sits back in the chair and assumes a very familiar position for her, having momentarily taken a break. And parity has been restored here as the family move from A10 to A9A. And one of the schoolgirls thinks about going into A9A as well. And the cameraman comes from nowhere. He's obviously coming up to set an interview. He sets himself up by A8 and waits his turn. Bottle of water for the woman giving an interview as well. She seems to be quite relieved by that and takes a really long sip as well, standing by A10 as she prepares to give an interview to a camera crew who have just arrived and will set themselves up by A8. A man walking down the lobby towards A9A now, and a few people coming up from A14 as well. And once again, most settling on their booths, which means the lobby goes once again quite empty and quiet. Two women are walking up it at the moment though, one in a red and white skirt with a straw handbag. Another lady cuts them off though and storms across towards A14. She's obviously in a hurry. By A22 and A25, lots of pictures are being taken. There's now a man sitting in a chair with an Apple laptop who appears to work here. Scratches his head, types away. There's some pictures on the far side which are gleaning a lot of attention. Big crowd walking through the centre of this grey carpet though. Three friends, one woman and two blokes, and another man alongside them who doesn't appear to know them in red. And two gentlemen as well walking in the same direction towards A22. Over by A24, there's a woman and her son holding hands, walking over what looks to be a red carpet towards a really colourful painting. And a man cuts them off who seems to be holding a red bag that almost looks like a sleeping bag. I hope he's not planning on sleeping overnight here in the gallery. Obviously likes it so much that he wants to stay here forever, walking very slowly towards these pictures in front of him, where there's a big crowd building, looking very intently at the white wall. Now what's this? A very tight part of the fair. Huge crowd building. There's a big rock behind. There's a small square yellow blob on the wall, and there's a big black and white picture as well, and there's a whole crowd pushing to and fro. It's almost like a rugby scrum in some senses because they're going in opposite directions and constantly knocking shoulders as well. This by A31A and A30 as well. A girl in a jacket who's obviously a little bit cold, thinks about going into A30 but stops and realises if she stands outside the booth she can see two works of art at once. And a gentleman comes up to her as well who maybe she's meeting and puts his arm around her, and they have a conversation, and they're obviously a couple who have decided to convene here by booth A30 and have a bit of a romantic date, and they're showing plenty of affection. Meanwhile, two elderly foreign-looking women are eating chocolate and talking, and they've got their phones out and are taking a couple of pictures as they walk up towards A15B. The fair is coming to a close, so there's certainly more of a frantic nature between all of these crowds at the moment who just want to see a final spectacle on these walls before the day is out. A few having a look at a big rock which is hinged above the booth, which is A31A and A31B, and I hope it's tightly fastened because the last thing you want is that falling over what is a large crowd at the moment. There seems to be a canteen over on the far side as well, where a few people are getting a drink and a bite to eat, as a gentleman walks out of A31B with a beard and a beret on, holding a sign behind his back as well with a scarf around his neck, and the couple walk in his place to have a look at this yellow blob of art, which isn't very big. They're enjoying it though nonetheless. A woman on her phone seems less interested in the art. Maybe she'll go into a booth once the call is over. Like the other couple, she could be meeting somebody as well, maybe her boyfriend. So the fair's about to shut, and there's a hustle and a bustle as people just try and get in one final booth before the day is out. There's a real crowd on the far side of the fair by A31A and A32A. poking their heads in, poking their heads out, getting a move on. There's a school trip as well by the looks of things here, walking up the lobby towards A28. They've got notepads in hand. One girl's got a red cap on, frantically talking, scribbling a few notes as well, bumping shoulders with people walking in the opposite direction, taking a few final photos. There's a real urgency here, almost a panic on people's faces because they know that the fair is about to shut. And finally they do get a look in and one final photo, and then they walk away and their day is done. Fair now emptying, the doors are about to close. There's a girl in a plaid skirt walking towards the exit on that far right hand side. There's a gentleman just folding up his paper as well and getting out his jacket because he knows he's about to go outdoors and the wind has picked up and it's quite chilly in the evening here. So he'll put that paper in his jacket and then put the jacket on because the fair has come to a close and the day is over. Thanks very much indeed for watching and listening as well. That's all we've got time for, and it brings to a close our commentary right here from the fair.